Hello again. This is try number 2 for integer rules notes. If you're from second hour and you're watching this, I apologize for the terrible try number 1 that you ended up using in class. Hopefully this will help clarify some things. These are designed for you to take notes with, and you can pause at any time. So please put these notes in your note spiral, and you may want to use colored pencils, crayons, or markers, and so on, because you can do that as well when you can pause at any time. And make sure that you write down everything on the PowerPoint, except when I handwrite something that is just denoting something. You do not have to write that down. Now, first thing we're going to talk about is what are integers and how to compare them. So I'd like you to make this number line to kind of show and remind you how that works. Close this here. And notice the positives go to the right and the negatives go to the left. Integers, by definition, are any whole number that can be positive or negative. So no fractions or decimals, but numbers that go to the right, which are positive, and to the left, which are negative. One of the terms that we will be using a lot is absolute value. So I'm going to define it right here. You have heard this before, but the absolute value of a number is the distance that that number is from 0. So that's why the answer is always positive. For example, the absolute value of 7, if I say that's the distance from 0, I would just count from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 units. So the absolute value of 7 is 7. Example 2. The absolute value of negative 10. That's also shown here. The absolute value of negative 10 is how far is it from 0? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whoopsie. Sorry about that. The absolute value of negative 10, therefore, is 10. Again, they're both positive because with absolute value, we're talking about how far away it is. So basically, when I use the term absolute value, I'm talking about just the number part, just the 10 part, just the 7 part, not worrying about whether it's positive or negative, just assuming that it is positive. And that's why we use it when we're talking about the rules for integers. Okay, now the rules for integers are as follows. Let me just erase these little dots here. That's better. Now, the rules go like this. For addition and subtraction, which is what we'll be working on today, to add, you simply ask yourself, are the signs the same or are they different? This is a chart that you will want to copy down, by the way. If they're the same, then you simply add the numbers together, the absolute values of the numbers, and keep the same sign. So 2 plus 3 equals 5, obviously, because we know that positives plus positive give us positive. But in the same fashion, negative 7 plus negative 4 equals negative 11. Because if we think of it as 7 plus 4, you see there's my little thought bubble. I'm just thinking of it as 7 plus 4. Then that answer would be 11, right? And so you would say, whoops, that's a big 11. So that answer would be 11. So you would say the answer is 11, but I have to keep the same sign. So it's negative 11. So if they're the same sign, you simply add like you normally would, looking at just the number part. And then if they're both negative, it's negative, both positive, positive. Now, to subtract, when they are different signs, we're actually going to subtract the two numbers, even though it's an addition problem, because different signs means we're going different directions on the number line. So we're going to subtract the numbers and take the sign of the larger absolute value. So what you'll be thinking is, and here's my little thought bubble, you'll be thinking, what is 5 minus 3? Ignoring that that's a negative 5 and that's a positive 3, just thinking of it as 5 minus 3. Well, I know 5 minus 3 is 2. And I also know that the negative 5 is the larger absolute value because 5 is greater than 3. So that means my sign is going to be negative, and that's why it ends up being negative 2. So when the signs are different, you subtract the two numbers because different signs means you're going different directions on that number line. One is going this way, one is going this way, and so we want to know What's the difference between the two? What's this area right here? Now on to subtraction. How do we subtract integers? Well, when it's a subtraction problem between integers, we're not going to subtract. We're going to add the opposite. No subtraction for us. We're going to change it to adding the opposite. So in order to subtract, we don't add, or we don't subtract, we change it to addition, and we use the rules of addition. So the example here is, what if we have negative 3 minus 4? Well, we're not going to do negative 3 minus 4. We're going to change it to negative 3 plus negative 4, because adding a negative is the same as subtracting a positive. Both of them take you to the left on the number line. So we're going to change all subtraction to adding the opposite. And another term that you may have heard is keep, change, opposite. Keep, change, opposite tells us we're going to rewrite the problem, but we're going to keep the first number the same, change it to addition, and then take the opposite of the number that we were subtracting, or the second number. So the negative 3 stays the same. We keep it. The minus sign, that becomes a plus sign. We change it to plus, addition. And then the negative 4, or the positive 4, right now is positive 4. That's going to become the opposite of that, which is now negative 4. Keep, change, opposite. So we rewrite this negative 3 minus 4 as negative 3 plus a negative 4. Now let's go on to another example here. Unfortunately, the answers are already showing on these two, but write these examples down, and as you're writing them, first write negative 9 minus 3, and then change it by either using an arrow or an equal sign to say now it's going to be negative 9 still, but plus a positive 3. And now I know that my answer, since 9 minus 3 is 6, and that's going to be 6, and then the larger absolute value is the negative 9, so my answer is negative, because it became two opposite signs being added. 20 minus 33, if we change that to 20 plus negative 33, now we know that, they're two different signs, so I have to subtract them. Now, if you can't subtract those in your head, you probably can, but if it gets you confused for a second, then you're going to go over to the side and actually write down 33 minus 20. Notice, even though it's written as 20 minus 33, when you're going to subtract it, whether you do it in your head or whether you do it on paper, you have to actually subtract the smaller from the larger to get your positive answer or your absolute value. So that ends up being 13, because 3 minus 0 is 3. Whoops, 3 minus 2 is 1. That was an interesting job. So the answer is 13, and it's positive because the 20 has the larger absolute value. Now that you are finished with this, you are to work on your worksheet and raise your hand when you have any questions. I will come around and help you, but I want you to work on your own today so I can see where the mistakes are being made, and I can help you, and you can keep working on the ones that you do know. Good luck. Thanks.